So the whole crisis started in this way. Two people, Muslims, go into a magazine, Charlie Hebdo magazine, that have been printing gratuitously racist images of the Prophet and Muslims, and they shoot some of the journalists there. Another man then goes into a Jewish deli, I believe, and shoots some more people there. And that's the basic facts. That's what everyone's so outraged about. But as soon as that happens, what happens is that the media, corporate media, as well as the European Western governments, come up with this story that it's about free speech. The reason why these guys did it is they just can't handle free speech. And then that, as we all know, mushrooms into Muslims can't handle free speech. So, as they always do, a small group of people do it, individuals, and that is reflective of the community as a whole. And they use words to reinforce that by saying values, our values, European values, Western values of free speech, as if Muslims don't have values like that. You know, so our values of wanting to live, you know, Muslims don't understand that value. Our values of being kind to children. No, these are universal values. Everyone wants to be able to speak their mind. Yeah, so it's a racist way of framing it from the very outset. Yeah, and what it's trying to do is it try to say that those barbarians don't really get us and they're attacking our values. That was the basic narrative behind it, and from the very start it was racist. So what was surprising to me was both the liberal elite of this country and Europe sided, and I think it's probably one of the first times, sided with the extreme right in creating the singular narrative that it was an attack by these barbarians on free speech. They unified against the Muslim community. Their deep-seated hatred, their ideological training over 1,000 years of demonizing Islam and Muslims could no longer be held back, and the dam burst and their true feelings came out about what they felt about Muslims. They couldn't reconcile the fact that Muslims had the same values as them. We're somehow, you know, aliens or barbarians and savages, so we can never understand, and we have a completely different set of values. Muslim groups like the ISB, Islamic Society of Britain, did the brilliant job of apologising on behalf of the Muslims, and you know, and did a superb job of getting down on their knees and bowing and saying we're so sorry for being savages, and we must try harder not to be savages. And I want to thank those guys for grovelling as much as they did. You know, Quilliam and Majid Nawaz nodded along merrily to the right-wing nut from the Henry Jackson Society, as you saw on the big question, showing, you know, again that you know, all of us Muslims aren't the same. You know, some of us agree that the rest of us are savages, and you know, I want to thank those guys as well. But what you also saw, I think, for the first time, were young Muslims. They started their blogs, they started videoing and making videos in response to this that were less apologetic. And for the first time they got a backbone, and they started to push back and say, hold on, I'm not really sure that I believe in this narrative. I'm not really sure that I accept your argument that this is about A, free speech at all, and B, I don't accept that we all have to apologise for it. But let's just stop there, right? Let's just analyse the argument itself, right? Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, right? If it is about free speech, right, let's analyse if it's about free speech at all. Well, we all know now, and I don't want to go over it and labour it. I wrote a blog myself about it, and thanks to people like you who are viewing this now, over 500,000 people viewed that blog at the height of the crisis. And I wrote, and many other people have written since, you know, why France and Europe doesn't believe in free speech at all. You know, the fact that the Palestinian, you can't march for Palestine in France, the only country in the world that banned the free speech of people to demand justice for people being ethnically cleansed, shows how much France cares about free speech. Journalists who left the Charlie Hebdo magazine even published articles saying that they were anti-Muslim, they did have a deep-seated hatred towards Muslims, and they went out of their way to make racist caricatures that demonise the most downtrodden and oppressed of French society, the Muslim society. what normally comes back, however, is when these right-wing nuts and now sadly their liberal friends hear this argument, they realise that they've been called out, that they don't really care about free speech themselves, they're using it as an excuse to bash the Muslims. What they say is, aha, yes, true, okay, we are hypocrites. But they don't actually say that, but you know, obviously they are, right? We are hypocrites, but at least we don't kill them. You know, look, you know, they said it, yeah, you know, no one died because of it. We didn't, we say stuff and, you know, it's offensive, but we didn't kill anyone because of it. Well, actually, that's not true. In the Al Jazeera offices, journalists, yeah, were bombed in Iraq and Afghanistan, and an Al Jazeera journalist was arrested under the express orders of both Bush and Obama. Because they didn't like the reporting coming out of it, both during the Iraq War and the subsequent war on terror. So they have killed people. In fact, one of the people that they invited to the march in Paris, one of the leaders that they invited to the march in Paris was the Prime Minister of Israel, who killed 17 journalists during the last Gaza conflict. So I'm sorry, you can't say that you guys don't kill people. You actually do kill it. But when you kill people, it's okay. Yeah, because those people you're killing are savages. Yeah, it's all right to kill those people. Oh, you know, we didn't mean to kill those people. You know, the fact of the matter is, they kill people, they kill journalists, and they've never come out on a million-man march. Never, never, never. But when a Muslim does it, as wrong as it is, then all of a sudden they need to tell us and they need to stand for freedom of speech. Where were they when freedom of speech was being denied to those people who wanted to march for the Palestinians? Where were they when Snowden revealed that absolutely everyone in the Western world had had their phones tapped, that the information was stored by GCHQ and by the American government, that they were sharing it with the Israelis, that every single keystroke, every single you know, search that you made on your internet search engine was recorded and kept by these governments, that bastion of free speech. Where were their million-man march then? You know, the fact that we're all being spied upon, the fact that toddlers in this country, Muslim toddlers, nurseries are being told to spy on them just in case they say something extremist, and laws being passed that they can be taken away from their parents if they do. Now, that's a disgraceful, Stasi-like society we're slipping into, but no million-man march. And yet, the French 2-3 million people, I think, came out to march for freedom of speech, and many people in Britain and Europe were standing up for it and saying, you know, our values are under threat. Your values have been under threat not by Muslims, but by your own governments. Where were you then? And let's just analyse this thing that Muslims taking to violence, and no other society does. Well, I'm not sure that's true itself. Go to, I don't know, Brixton and start shouting in the middle of the high street there the N-word. Anyone who walks by, start calling any black guy you see the N-word. Call him a monkey or an ape. See how long you can stand there without having your nose broken. The fact of the matter is, people do find things offensive, and some human beings will take up to an extreme and take up action. That's not exclusive to the Muslims. Now I see maybe some right-wing white guys out there going, oh well, okay, the Muslims, you know, acting barbarian. Well, you know, okay, well the blacks are the same as the Muslims and they're both barbarians, but we don't do it. Well, I'm not so sure. 50 attacks in France alone over the Charlie Hebdo attacks by French people against Muslims. A man was stabbed 17 times in France. A Muslim man was stabbed 17 times. What's that? They don't understand their own values? It's only Muslims that take violent action? A grenade was thrown into a mosque. Guns were fired at mosques. What, they don't understand their own values? You know, they don't understand that these Muslims take up violence. They're a bit extreme. Yeah, but hold on. The analysis shows that when they're upset, they're far more extreme than we are. So nothing in their narrative made sense. Nothing in any of this, the media coverage that you saw, made any sense. But Muslims often didn't have the arguments at hand or the intelligence at hand to be able to respond to that, effectively to demolish the arguments. In short, what this was a war of narratives. It was two stories to try to get out in society how people viewed the Muslims. One story said, and it continued from 1,000 years of demonization, it said that these Muslims are violent, backward barbarians. People who only understand violence, and therefore they are allowed to use violence against these barbarians, because otherwise these barbarians will use violence against them. In fact, it's the cover, the perfect narrative to continue their war on terror, to go around bombing, occupying, propping up dictators in the Muslim world. And that's why they push it. That's the only reason why they span this lie, because there's nothing really upon analysis that stands up about this whole story about so-called, their European values and their freedom of speech values. And the other narrative was by a handful of Muslims, sadly not enough, was that no, hold on, you don't believe in your values, we believe in freedom of speech, but you're asking us to be held to a higher standard of freedom of speech than you yourselves do. You don't believe in your own values that you're asking us now, the Muslims, to believe in. You ban things regularly that offends you, but you expect us to just take it on the chin when you insult us. But also that this backlash by these people was in fact was caused by their war on terror. They radicalized these Muslims, and now they're pointing the finger at us. It's our fault. No, it's not. It's not our fault that Muslims are radicalized. It's their fault. You clean up your own mess. You radicalized them because you bombed, tortured, kidnapped tens of thousands, millions of Muslims, and now some of those Muslims are being radicalized. Well, you sort the problem out. It's your bombs that are doing it. Why are you pointing at the Muslim community asking us to solve your problems? You solve your own problems. Now, if they want us to help, fine, we're nice guys, we're willing to help, and we're citizens of this world, and it's the right thing to do, to try to calm tensions down and make this place a peaceful world, but not in the way that they're demanding, not this finger pointing, you Muslims, look, you're bombing everything, what are you going to do about it? No, you're bombing everything. These guys are reacting to you bombing everything. We should be doing the finger pointing, pointing at the government, and instead of them sending a letter to 1,000 more saying, hey guys, you've got a chance now to be normal human beings, we should be sending a letter to the government and saying, now's your chance guys, stop bombing the whole world, and maybe we can help you stop the radicalization that you created because of that book that you're reading, your ideology, that extreme ideology that the government is clearly following. Yeah, that makes you white guys go around bombing the world. If you have any questions, please, add me on Twitter, add me on Facebook, get in contact, post it on the bottom of this YouTube vid, and I will try to respond as best I can in my next video. All right, thanks. Assalamu alaikum.